Starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining today's session today. We're very excited to have you with us. We've got Jeff Collinsworth, who's the IT Manager from CorePower Yoga. Jeff, you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. And we've got a fantastic lineup for you today and a great discussion plan. So let me actually go ahead without further ado and get to the agenda. What we're going to do is we're going to give a brief introduction and overview to Cisco Meraki. I'm going to try to breeze through those slides as quickly as possible, talking about the benefits of cloud networking and such. That way we can very quickly get to the meat of the webinar, which is a discussion with Jeff about the CorePower Yoga's deployment of Cisco Meraki products. And Jeff has graciously allowed us to demo his network. So we're going to actually look at a live customer network in our session today. And throughout, what we'd like you to do is type in any Q&A that you have into your GoToWebinar control panel in that Q&A box. My good friend and colleague Kat is here with me today. She's going to help answer any and all questions that you have, but you can ask questions to me or to Jeff, and we'll be collecting those, and she'll be relaying those to me, so that way we can actually use that as sort of the bulk of our discussion today. What we'll do if there My name is Emily. And let's get started. So, without further ado, for those of you who are qualified IT professionals on the call today, we're excited to announce we have a free access point for you for attending today's session. It's an 11N access point. We're going to throw in a 3-year cloud management license with it, so it is completely and fully operational, literally 100% free, yours to keep and use as you so choose. And all of the features that we talk about on the wireless side today, or features that you might see demoed in Jeff's network on the wireless side, will be available to you. So if you have any questions about eligibility, please check that URL down at the bottom of your screen. That's meraki.cisco.com/freeap. And to get your access point to you, we do ask that you call us to confirm your shipping information. You must do this if you're going to get a free access point. So to do this, there's pardon me one second, I think there might be some audio issue. Okay, let's try this again. Hopefully folks can hear me. We swapped out some headsets here. There must have been a hardware issue, and I apologize for that. If you can hear me, let Kat know. If you can't hear me, let Kat know. That way we can monitor the audio going on. Okay, I got a thumbs up, so hopefully we're good now. I apologize, guys. Basically what I was saying is, for attending the webinar today, you do get a free access point if you're eligible. There was a URL at the bottom of that screen there, meraki.cisco.com/freeap to check out. But please do call us to confirm your shipping information. Reach out to our main desk or check your inbox for a reminder email about today's session. That will have the person you can contact, your Cisco Meraki rep, to confirm your address, and that will get you your free access point. So let's get started. Just want to highlight for anyone who's unfamiliar with Cisco Meraki, project called the oh, hold on, more audio. So hopefully everybody can hear me now. We've just switched over to the phone system, so apologies, there was some VoIP issues.
We can hear.
Okay, so we can hear. All right, great. Apologies, guys. Seems like our headsets are dying and need to be replaced, so I'm actually going to just toss both of these on the floor right now so we don't use them again. What I was saying basically is just as the company is, we do cloud networking. We have 4 product lines. We make wireless access points, wireless switches, and security appliances, as well as mobile device management for iOS, Android, Macs, and PCs. We are the leader in cloud networking. We've been in the cloud since 2006, and we're acquired by Cisco at the end of 2012. So we're excited to say we're the new cloud networking group within Cisco and committed to all 4 of those product lines. So we're just continuing as is, business as usual. And for those of you who have never seen our gear, have never seen how we work, it's really pretty cool. Actually, everything that we make is designed to be 100% cloud managed. So what that means is you essentially, anywhere in the world you have internet access from any internet accessible device, you can open up a web browser, go in, manage your network, manage your gear, and see what's going on. So very, very cool and very intuitive. And really this does solve, this architecture we think does solve a lot of the IT challenges that folks are facing today. You're going to see in the demo, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the slides, but we have this incredible visibility. Like I said, you can see all your networks, all your Meraki equipment, all the client devices that are connecting and passing traffic through that equipment. So from a BYOD perspective, there's some really great visibility in here and also some great BYOD features that we can talk about when we get to the demo. There's great control. You have the ability to shape and throttle or prioritize traffic, set up firewall rules, enable or disable intrusion prevention and content filtering with our security appliances and such. So really, really great from the standpoint of a branch location that needs to have security in place, needs to be addressing BYOD, needs to be addressing the fact that bandwidth is limited and perhaps you're trying to make sure that the applications that are a priority for you are optimized, whereas things like Netflix or Hulu or Spotify, things like that are sort of throttled. And the way it works is Meraki equipment will sit on site on your location, so your shops, your headquarters, your home if it's a teleworker deployment, and essentially will initiate secure connections back to our cloud. It is secure. It's a connection that's encrypted twice, first with proprietary encryption and then again using SSL. And it tends to be a very small connection, averaging about 1 kilobit per second per device.
That's because we use an out-of-band control plane. So we don't ever see or store end-user data. That goes wherever it was intended to go. What we're collecting are just the management and monitoring statistics we need to present the information that you see in the dashboard. And you'll see that in the demo. So just to quickly highlight, again, some of the great features here about this architecture. The first one that I should mention is scalability. So you're not going to have the same types of bottlenecks or limitations that you would have in a traditional architecture. Things like needing to buy controllers, needing to buy redundant controllers, having device limits at a given location. None of that applies with the Meraki solution because we pushed all of that architecture, that control back out into the cloud. So we're infinitely scalable. We can literally grow and shrink with your needs literally as quickly as it takes you to deploy the hardware. We're also very reliable. So the data centers that we use are SSAE 16 certified. They undergo daily penetration testing by McAfee. We ourselves are PCI Level 1 compliant. We have customers that have built HIPAA and PCI compliant networks using our gear. We have high uptime service level agreements, 99.99% uptime with our data centers. And there's high availability built right in, literally at the data center level. So in the event of some catastrophic failure that would cause an entire data center to go down, you would basically we'd flip over to a spare nearly immediately, and you would maybe have a small blip in service, but there would be no significant outage to you. So you wouldn't be left standing, holding your hat in the event that, your primary data center hosting your network configuration goes down. One other thing that I do want to highlight that's a great feature of the cloud is that we do future-proof your hardware investment due to our model. And the way it works is you buy hardware from us, but you also buy a license to operate that hardware. That license, usually the main decision is, what time frame do I want? Do you want a 1-year license, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year license? And for the duration of that license, you have access to all the cloud management features that we provide for that product, but you also have access to technical support, and you have access to all the feature and firmware updates that we push out roughly every quarter to your gear. And these are not just bug fixes and firmware updates. This is actual new features show up for you in your gear. The most recent of which we recently announced, and I'll try to demo for you today, is network topology, and a way to intelligently map the physical connections of your network. That popped up literally last Thursday. It went live, and folks woke up and had that in their dashboard for their gear. Or you might wake up one day and find out, oh my God, I have location analytics on my wireless, or WAN optimization for my security appliances that are using VPN. So literally, the device that you have from us that you own 3 years from now is going to be more feature rich than whatever equipment you buy today, because we will have updated it so frequently. And again, that happens every quarter, so it really does future proof your hardware investment. All right, so that's enough about us. I'd like to invite Jeff on the line. Let's actually start talking about CorePower Yoga and how they're deploying Cisco Meraki equipment. Jeff, if you're on the call, do you mind just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about where you work?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Jeff Collinsworth, and I've worked for CorePower for about 4 years. And last year we were looking for a solution to really bring some visibility into all of our different networks across the country. We have 84 locations right now. We're going to open another half a dozen this year, and we'll open 30 next year. So having one-off devices at every location wasn't something that we could do. It made it real difficult to make sure that all of our networks were online and working all the time, and that just wasn't something that we could handle. We would have networks offline from Friday afternoon till Monday morning because there would be no communication at the studio level to let us know that the connections were down. So now it's very rare that we have that problem anymore. We we get notified by email, and we have a NOC, kind of our own version of a NOC here at our corporate offices that show us. You will see the map a little bit later, I think, but to be able to see that all devices are online all the time. So
awesome.
So that's the
cool.
That's the short
and
story.
you have a small team for this very diverse network, right? I mean, I think I have here if you could just speak a little bit about where you guys are located, and are you really just a 5-person team maintaining this entire network?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, our team when we deployed was only 3, so I was the only network admin, and you could, I mean, it was not feasible to manage those networks independently. 70+ networks, make sure they were all online all the time. In addition to making sure our corporate office in Denver was up all the time, and by implementing Meraki, we were able to have a very, very small network administration team to be able to manage the entire infrastructure from coast to coast.
Awesome. That's actually a great segue into the next slide. So one of the things we always like to ask is sort of like, if you could give us a little bit of context. I think you sort of alluded to it earlier when you're talking about one-off devices, but what was the impetus for the network refresh on your end, and what were the main issues that you were looking to solve?
Sure. We were using off-the-shelf devices, routers at our locations, because they're very, very small. We're talking about a single switch and 2 point-of-sale computers and a router and a modem, and that was pretty much it. So we wanted to have the ability to have guest wireless access at our studios. So kind of a fun project, but not the greatest project ever, was creating a guest wireless network with no-cost hardware, basically, and software. So we were using stuff that just had no longevity or scalability. We never knew if it was running right or not. We needed the ability to standardize our guest wireless access, and also have very, very solid visibility of all of our networks and what was going on, and also hold internet service providers accountable for their connections. We've canceled numerous contracts, T1 contracts, and DSL and Comcast circuits, and the whole deal, just because of the Meraki product. So we've been able to go back to the service provider and say, we've been down 10 times in a month for longer than an hour and a half. So we've either gotten kickbacks because of SLA or canceled contracts, and just because we've had the visibility that we have here.
That's funny you mentioned that. I've actually done that with my cable at home. same concept. That's awesome that you were able to do that. And one thing I always like to ask is, so you had these challenges. You were looking for a network refresh. I'm assuming you were looking at various vendors. Was there anything when you first came across Meraki that you were sort of worried about, or that gave you pause, but then when you got your eval or started deploying us, your fears were allayed? Any sort of initial concerns?
Sure, yeah. Anytime that you put all of your eggs in one basket with network infrastructure, anything, you always have some concerns, and those issues were kind of, I've never had any issues with that. I mean, even if I don't remember a time that Meraki was ever down where I couldn't get the visibility of my network, but I know that with it being down, without the web end of it being down, that the internal infrastructure continues to work, and we've had no issues with that. So
great, awesome. All right, well, let's. I'm just going to sort of highlight some of the features that Meraki provides in terms of its product line and what we can do here. Like I was alluding to earlier, right? There's deep visibility built into every product. So again, we have 4 product lines: wireless access points. We make access and aggregation switching. We have security appliances, which are unified threat management boxes. And we also have mobile device management for iOS, Androids, Macs, and PCs. And any piece of hardware that you buy from us is going to have this incredible visibility into applications, into clients. Everything is, for the most part, able to be deployed without a single touch. You can pre-configure all of your equipment from the cloud before it's ever been plugged into power, plugged into the internet, and then once it is plugged in, it can grab its configuration settings from the cloud and run with that. So I'm just wondering, for you, it looks like those were big selling points for you, and you are rapidly growing. I saw earlier, right, like 50 new locations planned for 2016, some for 2015. Can you talk about your deployment process, like how easy is it to get up and running at a new site with Meraki equipment?
Sure. Yeah. It's dramatically different than it was before. It used to be that we'd have the hardware shipped directly to our corporate office. We'd configure it, we'd send it out, and then we'd have an on-site technician go out and actually install it and make sure everything was good. Now we actually never see the hardware. We send it straight to our stereo vendor, who actually rack mounts it and sends it to our new location. And the configuration is done in-house at the corporate office via the web management portal. And all we do is copy a different location configuration and replicate it to the new studio. And then when it connects to the internet for the first time, then it's fired up and it's ready to go. So we've dramatically decreased the amount of time, the on-site requirement for what's required of us in order to get a studio up and online. Sweet.
So this is a great slide. We're just going to highlight what you have across your various locations. And again, I will encourage everybody in the audience, if you're listening in and you have a question, please type that in. We are willing to go off tangent and off track and answer your questions if you have any related to the things we're talking about and things you see here. But I was wondering, Jeff, if you could just sort of describe what your typical stack looks like in a given location, and then how that's different from your main HQ.
Sure. We have at the studios, we have the MX60s we have the MX60 appliances at every location. They're doing all the the firewall type stuff and all the routing. And then we have a single wireless access point, sometimes two, depending on the size of the location. That literally is pretty much it. We have a small PoE switch that we use in order to power our voice over IP phones. But that is literally the extent of our network infrastructure at the studios. Our corporate office is a little more robust. We have the MX100 appliance, and for our firewall, it manages it with, it works great. It handles everything that we need to be able to do. What was that?
Great. So that's what we like to hear. So we are actually getting a couple of great questions in from the audience. If you are able to answer them, and they seem to speak to sort of topology. One was, what kind of circuits do you have in each location? What kind of uplinks?
Yeah, we have, because we're nationwide, it really depends on the location. We have T1 circuits, we have coax connections, we have DSL circuits. It's really all the way across the board. And that's another reason why having the visibility of the circuits from Meraki is important, because we can ensure that those connections are satisfactory to meet the needs of the studio based on the amount of clients that are connecting to it.
Great. We also have some questions from the audience about if there are any port considerations when dealing with the firewalls. If that is a question about whether or not you have to have certain ports open for the cloud connectivity of the Meraki devices, the answer is yes. But we have a list of those, and it's very easy to get that set up and running. But yes, you will need a couple of ports open for the cloud management aspect of the devices. There was another question of whether or not the access points require a Meraki switch. The answer is no. You can have just access points. You could have just a couple of switches. You could have just our security appliance, and you can definitely mix and match hardware with non-Meraki equipment. The issue is that you will have at least two interfaces to log into to manage your gear. You can't manage non-Meraki equipment from our dashboard, but you will have some visibility into those devices. All right, Jeff, so let's actually dive in a little bit more in depth. This will probably answer a couple of the other questions I'm starting to see flow through. Could you just describe how you've got your wireless set up and what you're using your security appliance for?
Sure. Yeah, we have two SSIDs for each location. Our guest wireless network is called the CorePower Hotspot, and we named it the same for every location across the country. That way, if a student has gone into one studio, they can walk in and be wireless at every other studio. Then we have our primary connection, our SSID, the CorePower, which is connected to it's our corporate segmented connection, same as being hardlined, and it is it's VLANed out to be completely separate from the guest wireless connection. So that's kind of the SSID end of it. As far as the security appliance, we use it. We've created a group policy called the front desk group policy, and it's preventing video streaming and audio streaming, and it's also it's preventing Facebook and YouTube access at the front desk computers. We needed the ability to allow our managers who are on laptops and other devices to be able to access Facebook for social media and marketing purposes. So we just wanted to prevent the point of sale computers from being able to access those things, and that's primarily what we're using the content filtering with the appliance.
Okay, great. And we're getting a lot of questions since you mentioned mobile appliances and mobile devices about that. So that's actually a great segue into the next slide, which is, can you talk us through a little bit about what sorts of devices you have on your network, how are you using Meraki to manage these, and if there's any gotchas? That's the question.
Sure. So we have a kiosk at every, there's a picture of it here. It's basically the ability for our new students to sign up rather than filling out some sort of sheet, and for the front desk person to have to manually type it into our point of sale. They run through that kiosk, so that's vital that it's up all the time. We're actually targeting it from the security appliance by IP address, so we get an email anytime those devices go offline. So that's one way that we're using it. We also have, that's really the only targeted appliance that we have that we really are monitoring actively. We also are using the Systems Manager agent on the front desk computers to be able to get inventory information about the front desk computers. So that's another huge plus. We can go through and see every computer that's running an old version of Windows or Office. You can even mass remove applications via the Systems Manager, which is pretty amazing. So
it is incredibly amazing, and I'm actually getting a couple questions about it, which is, can we talk about sort of what the difference is between Systems Manager Standard and Systems Manager Enterprise? And the difference is actually, if you want to go into the technical spec by spec, it's up on our website, but essentially Systems Manager Standard is free for managing iOS, Androids, Macs, and PCs, app management, security and feature restrictions, visibility in the mobile devices, the ability to kind of selectively wipe or delete or lock them or apply policies that way. And then Systems Manager Enterprise, of course, will have more enterprise-y type features, sort of more designed if you're a larger organization. You can be managing hundreds or thousands of devices. So that's a great question. We also had another question from the audience, I think for you, Jeff. Given that you have a point-of-sale system, do you run any of the sort of PCI compliance reporting from our wireless products for that at all, or?
I haven't actively used it. I was actually playing around with it a little bit today, and it's something I do intend to utilize in the future. So I couldn't speak too much about that.
Okay. For the guy who asked the question, it's actually a very cool feature. If you're running Meraki Wireless, all of our MR access points support this. You can go in Dashboard and actually run a PCI compliance report from a tool, and I can show you where, and it'll basically pop up and show you where your network is or is not in compliance from a wireless perspective with the PCI standard, and then give you prompts for how to actually fix that. It's very, very cool. All right, so let's we're going to pretty much getting to the end of the slides here, and just before the demo of your network, Jeff, I was wondering if you could just speak to some of your favorite tools in the dashboard, and if you have any anything that you want to highlight here.
Sure. I mean, email alerts is number one. I mean, we literally we have an email distribution group set up for email alerts. So anything that we're interested in monitoring, whether it be connection status, really anything, we have it to automatically generate a ticket in our ticketing system, and we resolve the issue through that. So Meraki generates that, and then we act on it on our end. Live tools, the ability to ping out to the internet from the content or from the web platform, and also check DNS and just see live traffic to really see what's going on. I think we'll look into it, I'm sure, in a minute, but you can see very detailed and granular client activity within the dashboard, which is pretty cool. So you can see if there's someone offending that policy that you want to have in place, and see why there's so much bandwidth happening on your network, and be able to segment that traffic or prevent it or do whatever you want to do with it. So that's pretty awesome. The custom splash pages, we're using that for our wireless hotspots. So our guests connect to the wireless hotspot, and they're presented with a CorePower branded guest splash page. And we intend to get even more robust with that and build a whole marketing strategy off of that, because there's some great analytics behind that. And then that's probably the highlight of those things.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's great. Yeah, and all those things actually I'll try to, I'm making a mental note now to go through them as we go through the demo. I think this is actually the wrap-up slide before we get there. Seems like you've had a really, really great experience overall with us, Jeff. So if there's any plans you want to share about that, as far as like building out the rest of your network with Meraki, or anything else that you want to add, now is the time to do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was pretty groundbreaking for us last year to do this, to really have that visibility. So, you know, we're gonna put another 10 out this year and another 30 out next year, and continue down this path. So in the very beginning during deployment, I got all the support I needed from tech support, and never had any issues there. I don't remember the last time I called Meraki, to be honest with you. It's self-running. It's kind of plug and play and hands off. There's another. I'll speak to another cool feature that I kind of like, just for the sake of our kind of the end users at our locations. We've had internet go out at their location, and then we'll call them and they'll say, hey, or we'll say, we're on the phone with the internet service provider, and we know it's down. There's like an ETA of 3 hours, and we'll let you know what's going on. They're like, oh yeah, an hour ago I saw, or 15 minutes ago I saw a splash page come up that said Meraki, and it said your wireless appliance or your security appliance is unable to connect to the internet. Please call your help desk, administration staff, which is pretty cool, rather than getting this page that says, unable to connect, like the Internet Explorer, standard splash. So for end user kind of, availability and easiness, I think that's pretty cool.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you, and thank you so much for all your answers thus far. We'll have more questions as we go through. So let me actually start the demo, and I think this will answer a bunch of questions that I have been seeing pop up. I know Kat is avidly typing away and answering them as best she can. I have a long password, bear with me. We are getting a couple questions, though, I can knock off right off the bat. Do the switches support PoE? Yes, all of our switches support PoE. Full power or low power PoE, depending on how much wattage you want. The specs are in our data sheets online. The access points also support PoE, so that should help clear up a couple of the questions I saw. And all right, so here we go. So what have I done? Let's actually dive into the demo. I think this will help. Let's do a view full screen. So what I've done is what any of you would do, and what Jeff does, which is you open up a web browser from any internet accessible device, and you log into Dashboard with your username and credentials. And Jeff, this is your network, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, good. I'll make sure I got the right one. And you can literally immediately get dumped into a view where you see all of your networks everywhere in the world they happen to be deployed, and you can hover over them, get some statistics about the types of networks and the types of devices. You can drill down into any single one of these little icons here and see where your gear is deployed. So your headquarters was in Denver. You can also come in here and actually expand this view. We can see that Jeff's got 88 networks deployed. You can do something like sort by usage and drill down into any particular type of network from here. If he had tagged them, it looks like you've got a couple tags. You can search by those tags or search by the name of the network and get a quick overview of sort of downtime and reboots for any given network for a given time frame. Is there any network in particular you'd like us to dive into, or can I just pick one?
Well, yeah, actually, I was going to, if I can say something about this, I was actually looking at this earlier today, and I was actually looking at, I mean, this is awesome. I mean, you can see every, the network health of every location, so you can see those red blips for a short amount of times that they were offline, so it gives you some visibility to see what happened and what was going on. But also you can sort this by usage and see the data usage by studio. You can see our corporate office did 924 gigs, and then a studio did 240 gigs of data, and that's kind of a red flag to me. Like, well, how the heck are they using 240 gigs of data? So I don't know if you want to drill into Mockingbird there, Texas location.
Sure. Yeah, let's do it. Let's check it out. And apologies for any delays. I'm actually connected wirelessly here, and we're in the marketing section, and we're used as experimental guinea pigs for new wireless features, and some of those have been on the table for the last week or so, so may have some spotty connectivity that we wouldn't normally see in a production network. So apologies for that. But all right, so we've dived into Mockingbird, and what we're looking at, Jeff, do you mind if I close this?
No, go ahead.
All right, so we're just letting him know that we have some updates and things like that. But typically what you would see is you come in here, all right, we're in the Mockingbird network, and we're going to look at statistics on our network for a given time frame. So what we're looking at here for the last week are statistics on bandwidth, application consumption, who the clients are, how many client devices connected in the last week. You see they're all listed out here. Some of them are wireless, some of them are wired, some of them are online now, some of them were recently online but don't seem to be online currently, but they were in the last week. And again, you can do all sorts of sorting. You could sort by usage here if you wanted to. I'm actually going to bring up a little bit more information. I just want to highlight from a BYOD perspective, what's really cool here is the ability to do things like search for iPads or search for, let's see, like Androids if we wanted to do that, or search for Windows devices if we wanted to do that. Even drill down by operating system to see exactly what's connecting to our network when. Really, really useful from a BYOD perspective. And from here as well, we have application fingerprinting. So we have the ability to come in, like I said, and look at all the different types of applications that have been consuming bandwidth on our Mockingbird network for the last week, and we can sort by usage. And so, you were saying earlier, Jeff, well, this is a red flag. How are they using up so much bandwidth? Well, here you go. Here's the top applications that are being consumed. Looks like a lot of video as well as some miscellaneous web. Now, if we wanted to drill down a little bit more and say, okay, well, what is this? I could, click into miscellaneous web, for example, get a little bit more information about it, see who the top consumers of miscellaneous web were in the past week. So here's all the devices that were using that application. And here are the top websites or destinations that they're going to. So this is grayed out, of course, because I'm not an admin on Jeff's network, but he can see this, and he can see, okay, well, whatever website this is, it's accounting for about 13% of the miscellaneous web usage on my network. It looks like people are going there and spending an average of, 7 minutes, or whatever this website is. It's taking up about almost 1.5 hours of time per client device. So maybe this is information that Jeff can then use to make a policy decision. Maybe he wants to come in and say, you know what, miscellaneous web is okay, but I definitely want to throttle that. People shouldn't be, spending so much time at XYZ websites, or perhaps consuming so much video. And same thing here for video. You can come in. This is sort of random video that we're not tagging, so probably not Google or YouTube traffic, because we can find that down here as well. And I just want to highlight one of the benefits to us of being cloud-based is we've algorithmically classified and tagged hundreds of websites, and we're constantly updating that list in the background for you, so you don't have to do anything on your end to get this level of visibility or to be able to see these applications. And when new applications pop up, new websites, we're there. We've already updated this in the back end for you, so it's automatically being identified. Very, very cool. And the way that you would go in and create a policy if you saw this information and then wanted to do something about it, so you can come in and you can create group policies very simply. You can come in, pretend like you're adding a group. Here's a policy of some sort. Maybe we want it to only be enforced at certain times on certain weekdays. Maybe we don't care. I can come in, though, and say, all right, maybe I want to do my typical layer 3 firewall rules. We're looking at destination and ports and things like that and protocols. But perhaps because I have that application visibility, I want to come in and actually, if I really wanted to be draconian, I could come in and just throttle, block all video and music if I wanted to. Or maybe it was just that, Google video that's causing me some grief. Or if I don't actually want to block the application, I just want to throttle it in some way, I can come down here and I can say, you know what, we're actually just going to throttle, let's just make this up, let's just say these were the applications that were causing me some grief. I can literally just say, okay, every client's going to be throttled down to some level. And what's going to happen is any user or device or groups of users or groups of devices that get this policy, they'd be blocked entirely from using Google Video. So perhaps it's kind of silly to have it there. But their Pandora, Netflix, and Hulu would be throttled to 500 kilobits per second. And if I actually wanted to prioritize these 3 applications instead, all I have to do is ignore any limits and make sure that that's bumped up. Now you can use both of our MX security appliances or our MR access points to create group policies and firewall rules and apply those out to users or devices. You can do it site-wide with the MX or via group policies, or you can do it SSID-wide with the MR or via group policies. So a lot of flexibility there. Both of those product lines contain stateful firewalls and give you this ability to traffic shape. So that is how you would go in, and if you wanted to then apply your group policies, from your security appliance, it's very easy. We integrate with Active Directory, for example, directly, or if you're using a splash page, you have the ability to you have the ability to come into a have a particular splash page prompt for either Radius or Facebook login authentication. And if you're using wireless, same thing applies. You have the ability to go in and say, all right, I'd like to make sure that users are authenticated either with a pre-shared key, or if I'm going to use some sort of authentication server, you know, I can come in and say, well, let's do Radius by default, or again, you can do a splash page and have various ways of authenticating users that way. And then you can push out policies to those groups based on these ways of authenticating, based on this authentication mechanism that you choose. So we are somewhat pinched for time, so what I think I'm going to do very, very quickly, I just want to highlight killer features of the security appliance and the wireless and the mobile device management, because that is what Jeff is using in his network. So very quickly, I'll just say all of our gear has the ability to be looked at a specific sort of device level. So right now we're looking at Jeff's Mockingbird's MX60, so a security appliance. And again, why would you have a security appliance? Well, you'd have it because you can set up site-to-site IPsec VPN in literally 3 minutes between sites. You can set up intrusion prevention that's based off of SourceFire, which is, you know, the creator of Snort. You can set up malware filtering. You can set up content filtering, things like that at a site-wide level or via group policies. You can come in and troubleshoot your MX or your switch or your access point from a page that looks like this. So a lot of different functionality, and I'll just show you very quickly how, I guess the killer feature really is the site-to-site VPN, so I'll show you very quickly what that looks like. So right now it's disabled for Mockingbird. If Jeff wanted to enable it, he can simply decide real quick if he wants a split tunnel or a full tunnel VPN. And then he can either connect directly to all of the other MXs in his network in sort of a mesh topology, or he can connect via hub and spoke. So we'll just say mesh, and that's the easiest thing to do. And then you can see the cloud and the MX have worked together behind the scenes. They'll set up phase 1, phase 2, and authentication parameters for this VPN, and the cloud already knows what subnets are defined, so you can decide whether you would like to export that subnet over VPN or not. And if he said yes, and if he hit save at this point, basically these remote VPN participants would start to show up in his VPN network because they have already been configured. But if they hadn't been configured for VPN, you'd literally just find those networks, you know, search for networks that have, you know, security in them, or however it is that you have defined these via the naming system that you've used. Go in, find the network, and do the same 3 clicks. What kind of VPN you want, what topology you want, what subnets you want to export, and then you hit save. And it is possible to VPN with non-Meraki VPN peers, but you can see there's a little bit more information you need to provide. And if you're going to try to set that up with a hub and spoke topology, you're going to have to probably add a couple of firewall rules here to make sure that traffic goes where you want it the way that you've intended it to. But that's it. Once you hit save, you've got site-to-site IPsec VPN for Mockingbird, and then, you know, you just go enable it at other locations, and you can come in and actually you know, monitor your VPN status here. If we'd actually enabled this, there would be a VPN status section right here that you go in and actually check the health and security of your VPN. So that is the killer feature of the security appliance. Wireless, similar to the security appliance and our switches, you can come in and literally get a list of your equipment, see right away what its health and connectivity status is. So here's what the local status page for a access point looks like. A couple different types of live tools here, but again, you're just getting health and connectivity statistics, looking in real time to see who's connected to an access point, and there's a lot that you can do. So you can come in, we support up to 15 unique SSIDs with every access point. You can come in, define your SSIDs, and then come to this page that I was showing you earlier where you can say, all right, depending on which SSID we've got going on, we're going to decide the association and encryption and authentication requirements for that SSID. So there's a slew of options here, and you can scroll down, decide if you want splash pages. You can decide one thing very, very cool in a BYOD environment. You can decide to assign any group policies that you define automatically by device type. So, you know, if you're a school and you're not expecting to see any BlackBerries, you can block those. You know, Androids, maybe a whitelist. Maybe you're going to give, you know, I don't know, Macs a particular policy. If you've defined it, so there is this FD policy that's defined, you could apply that out. And what's beautiful here is you don't even have to care what people are bringing onto your network. You just know that, okay, all Windows machines are going to get this policy, all Macs are going to get that policy, these types of mobile devices will be blocked or whitelisted, et cetera, et cetera. Very easy to set up. And the other thing I know that that Jeff was mentioning was, well, you know, how do you get a quick and secure guest wireless solution up in place? And I'll just sort of mimic what you would do here. If you wanted to have a guest wireless SSID, you know, let's just pretend that this was the guest SSID. You could select this. You can say, okay, I'm going to make this an open SSID. Anyone can join it. Maybe I'll have a click-through splash page with some terms and conditions. And then really all you have to do is come in here and select NAT mode. What this is going to do is issue out isolated Class A IP addresses to all the clients that connect to this wireless network. And basically it will prevent them from talking to each other. It will prevent them from talking to your wired LAN and accessing local resources, but it will allow them to get out onto the internet. So literally in 3 clicks, you've locked down your guest wireless, made it isolated, made it secure, and provided it. So very, very quick and easy to get up and running with that. And then I think the only other thing that I'll highlight on the wireless side very quickly is just, I had mentioned it earlier, and it's a really cool feature, especially for retailers, is location analytics. So it's just a very cool feature that we actually pushed out for, let's see, I wonder if you're using it for our wireless. Let's see if it pops up. No, maybe you're not using it. Well, it's a very cool feature. Basically lets you, with the access points, lets you monitor mobile devices in the vicinity that are looking for wireless. And so basically lets you sort of see, okay, well, who is a visitor, who is passing by, you know, did they stay for a while and loiter in my shop? Did they, are they a repeat visitor? Do they come back daily, weekly, occasionally, and things like that? And it just gives you some really nice graphs that you can use to sort of modify maybe Windows settings of the mannequins, or, you know, if you've got a sale going on, sort of track whether or not there was an uptick in folks to your store that way. So it's very, very cool feature. All right, very quickly, let's just look at mobile device management, if I can find it. Do you, is your MDM network something we can show, Jeff?
Yeah, mobile devices at the top.
This one? Right here.
Yep.
Awesome. So again, Systems Manager, standard free version or the enterprise version, and what this lets you do, essentially similar to what we saw before, right? You can go in, once you've got your profile installed on all of your mobile devices, you can go in and search for devices based on criteria. There's a lot of information here that you could be looking at just from this one view here where we're listing out the mobile devices themselves. And if you were to click on a device, you'll see you get a lot more granular detail. You can literally go in and see information about, you know, is it in warranty? What kind of model is it? You know, how much storage does it have left? How long has it been connected to the internet? And you have all of these live tools to do things like lock the device, erase it, selectively wipe it, and you can come in and group your devices in various ways, and then go out and apply security and feature restrictions to those groups. So, you know, you can say, you know, for a particular group here, labeled geofence, I want to enforce specific restrictions. You know, maybe I want to have passcode complexity requirements. Maybe I want to automatically allow them to join my Meraki network, so maybe they can all, join this Colorado Broadway wireless network, and in fact, they can only join this CorePower Yoga SSID. If you have the ability to go in and do things like that, you have the ability to go in and manage mobile applications. So you can come in and say, I'm going to look for, I don't know, we like Angry Birds here. So I'll just pretend like we're looking for Angry Birds. And oh my God, I have to have Angry Birds. I really actually have to have Angry Birds Star Wars, but that's not a paid app. So let me actually show you what Angry Birds HD looks like. You can literally just say, okay, here's an application I want to push out to mobile devices, and I have a VPP code. I'll list that out here so I can install this in bulk on hundreds of devices. And in fact, I could actually say I only want to apply it to devices with certain tags. Maybe people in our remote, who use remote devices that we've labeled as remote and grouped as remote devices can get Angry Birds. Or maybe it's just going to be people who have, kiosk tags. And so you can see here's all the devices that have the kiosk tag assigned to them. They're going to get Angry Birds HD if I hit save. That is as easy as it is. As you can see, we've jumped around from our security appliance to wireless to mobile devices, all without leaving this one dashboard view. So that is also very cool and definitely a selling point of Cisco Meraki. Let me zoom out, exit full screen. I think that is pretty much a wrap for us. We are at the top of the hour. I'm going to take maybe 1 or 2 more minutes, try to answer any other questions that we have, and we'll call it a day. But give me 1 second and let's see what all you guys have been asking. Okay, so we are getting tons of great questions. Things like, do we integrate with Cisco products? So the answer there is yes and no. It depends on what you mean by integrate. So again, all Meraki equipment requires our, is managed from the Meraki dashboard. You would have visibility into non-Meraki equipment that is directly downstream of Meraki equipment. And in fact, actually, for example, let me show you, with our, for example, our topology feature, if I go back into, let's go back into the overview, and if we sort by usage and go back into this main network here, topology, this is a great feature that we just enabled literally last week, the ability to kind of map out your network. And you can see right here, Jeff has got non-Meraki equipment. We don't have quite the level of visibility into it, right, that we would have if we're looking at Meraki equipment. You might be able to see it as clients in this clients page here from the standpoint of I guess this is MX at this point. So maybe like non-Meraki equipment will show up. But you can't go in and manage it. You're not going to be able to set, switch configuration from the dashboard and things like that. So that's a great question. Can you adjust the signal strength on your wireless? You absolutely can. You can literally come in and set radio settings from our radio settings page. So you have the ability to come in here. You can select an access point. And here's what you can do. You can select the channel for a given radio. You can select power. You can decide whether or not you're always going to use 100% or whether you'll enable automatic power reduction, perhaps for high-density environments. But yes, you absolutely can go in and manage that. WAN optimization. That is a great question. WAN optimization is free. So if you're using our security appliances and you are using site-to-site VPN, you can come in, and if you're going to be transferring files securely between VPN locations, you can come in and say, you know what, yes, I'm going to enable WAN optimization. And if you enable it, what you'll be able to do, again, will pop up under monitor. You'll be able on your MX to go in and view the WAN optimization. There's pretty graphs that pop up and show you, how much bandwidth you're saving from using it. That is also a great question. I'll be right back and maybe just take one more, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, yeah, that's a good question. It always pops up. What happens in the event of a network outage? So if your internet connection goes down, your Meraki equipment will continue to operate with its last known configuration settings. So SSIDs will continue to broadcast, your firewall rules will still be in play. If you're authenticating to any local, Active Directory, radius server, things like that, you'll still be able to access file and print on your local area network. But of course, you can't get online, you can't go to dashboard.meraki.com, and you can't tweak those settings. Now, typically that's okay because you are more concerned about getting your ISP connection back up and running than you are about like tweaking a group policy. But if you have accidentally blown yourself up because you have misconfigured your Meraki equipment and that has caused your network to go down, all of our gear, if you're directly connected to it or directly downstream of it, they have these special URLs you can go to, for example, for our access points, and you can go in and you can literally come in and do things like configure it. Now, I'm not a full admin here in Meraki, so if I click this, it's going to prompt me for credentials I don't have, but you would come here and you would be able to manually or set DHCP settings, IP settings, VLANs, turn ports on and off, things like that, enough to get you back up and running and get you out of hot water if you've accidentally misconfigured your gear. So that's what that looks like. All right, guys, we're a little bit past the hour, so I'm going to wrap up. Have no fear if your question wasn't answered. We're collecting those and sending them to your Meraki rep. So when you call to confirm your address for your free access point, they will have those list of questions and should be able to help answer them for you. But thank you so much for your time and your patience with the audio issues. I appreciate your sticking with us through it, and thank you. Hope you have a great rest of your afternoon and hope to see you again at a future webinar. Thank you very much, Jeff.